The Golden State Warriors just slapped the NBA across the face. As you all know, the Golden State Warriors faced off against the Los Angeles Lakers as they both were battling for play-in position when it comes to the Western Conference. Warriors were able to take the win 128 to 121, and in today's video we're going to be going through 5 key players that have honestly had a huge impact in this game and are also going to help the Golden State Warriors make it back into the playoffs and hopefully win another NBA championship. So make sure to like this video, and guys, 92% of you are still not subscribe to the channel, so it'd mean the world if you could subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. The first is having Stephen Curry back in the starting 5. Now, as you all know, Stephen Curry was out for some time, but now he is finally back with the Golden State Warriors, and he definitely put on a show against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, in this matchup, he had himself 31 points, 6 rebounds, and also 5 assists, while also getting 2 steals, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. But as you all know, this Warriors team, it is Stephen Curry's team, and we all know how great Steph is, not just as a player, but how much of an integral player he is for this Warriors roster. Now, as you all know, Stephen Curry from the field shot 12 from 24, so he shot 50%, which I thought was great, and went 3 from 10 from the 3-point line, which is around 30%. So he did a fantastic job there. But when it comes to Warriors in general, I think what they did very differently in this game, as they mostly do, is that a lot of the offense wasn't ran through Stephen Curry a lot of the time. Now, don't get me wrong, Steph Curry still took 24 shots in this game, but we saw a lot of other big players be able to step up and get a lot more opportunities to score, and this is what we like to see from the Warriors in a whole. As you all know, a lot of times in the past, the Warriors would just focus on Steph and give him as many shots as possible, but it started to become a little bit too predictable, and teams caught on very early and were able to guard the Warriors team very efficiently. Now, it's tough. They have Steph Curry out there, he's shooting 24 shots. In this game, Wiggins also took 17, Kuminga took 16 shots, also Klay Thompson took 15, so there were a lot of players shooting and scoring, and I think that's what made Stephen Curry coming back and this strategy that they have now different to how they started at early on this season. Now, when it comes to Stephen Curry in general, I think we all know how great he can be in the scoring side of things, but the fact that he was able to dish out 5 assists I thought was honestly great. He's looking for his teammates more. He's not just trying to score every single time, but he's trying to get everyone involved and space out the floor as much as he can, and it definitely translated very well, which is one of the reasons why they did end up getting the win. But having Curry back, especially at this time where the Warriors are really pushing for a playoff spot, right now they are in that play-on territory, but they want to get a guaranteed playoff spot very, very soon, and it definitely is still possible, especially with now Stephen being back. The second is Klay Thompson becoming the best 6th man for this Warriors team. Now, as you all know, Klay Thompson is now coming off the bench, and he has honestly put on a show because he could definitely give a run for 6th man of the year. Now, as we all know, Klay Thompson is a starter, but they have most recently moved into the 6th man position ever since Curry has come back, and it actually has done wonders for this team. Klay Thompson in this matchup had himself 26 points, 4 rebounds, and also 3 assists, and he put an absolute shooting show, shooting 9 from 15 from the field and went 5 from 10 from the 3-point line, shooting 50%. And to top it all off, he actually had 100% from the free throw line and went 3 from 3, which I thought was great. But when it comes to Klay Thompson coming off the bench, I think this has honestly been the smartest but also the greatest move that they have actually made. Klay Thompson coming off the bench not only gives him easier defenders, as he does end up playing against the Los Angeles Lakers bench team, which obviously isn't the greatest compared to their starters, but on top of that, it does give Klay Thompson a lot of room to work, and he was able to put on an absolute show and play like his old self. So when you look at these highlights, you definitely see old school prime Klay Thompson, and I think that was honestly the best thing about this. We've seen Klay Thompson throughout this whole season really trying to force himself to become something he's not. He starts to ISO a little bit too much dribbling, and all we know Klay Thompson for is doing great coming off the screens, being able to take 1 dribble pull-ups, and also just scoring a spot up 3. And that's what he showed off in this matchup. He showed a little bit of everything when it came to scoring, and that's one of the reasons why he was able to shoot such a highly efficient 9 from 15, but also just dropped 26 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists on only 30 minutes of game time. So he did a fantastic job, and I think Klay Thompson coming off the bench has to continue. They did a very, very well rotation when it comes to Klay Thompson and Chris Paul, while also adding someone great like Trayce Jackson-Davis coming off the bench. But I think Klay has definitely found a bigger and better role for him in that second unit position, which I think will be huge for the Warriors when it comes playoff time. The third is Jonathan Kuminga put on an absolute show. Now, as you all know, Jonathan Kuminga has found his way into the starting lineup, and he continues to surprise us every single day because he has actually cemented himself as a great starting power forward for this Golden State Warriors team. Now, look at Jonathan Kuminga. He had himself 23 points in this matchup, 4 assists, and also 2 rebounds. So it was surprising because he was a lot more of a scorer in today's matchup than before. He was definitely hitting that 3-ball very well, going 2 from 3 from the 3-point line, but also went 9 from 16 from the field, which I thought was fantastic as well. Now, although it doesn't show up in the stat sheet, it definitely does show that Jonathan Kuminga did a fantastic job on defense. I was able to really restrict a lot of the forwards in the Lakers lineup from scoring a lot of points, and I think this was honestly fantastic. You know, Anthony Davis only had himself 8 points. Now, he did only play 12 minutes, but I still do believe he did a great job playing defense on him. You also have other players like Rui Hachimura, who's running the forward position, who only had himself 14 points, so did a great job restricting him as much as they could. And also, if we look at the bench, Jackson Hayes, who only had 7, and Taurean Prince, who only had 8. So they were able to keep a majority of them under 10 points, which I think is fantastic. LeBron James pretty much had to do everything scoring wise due to the fact that Kuminga was just playing such great defense on their centers and power forwards, which I thought was absolutely fantastic to see. He did a great job on LeBron at times as well. We saw a lot of switches that had Jonathan Kuminga guard him, but LeBron is LeBron, and he's still going to drop 30-40 points if necessary, and he did drop 40 in this matchup, but he did what he could. And I think Kuminga, you know, although it doesn't show up in the stat sheet, I think his defense presence was definitely felt, and it did cause a lot of havoc to the other team, which is why we didn't really see too much scoring from any of the big men in this Lakers roster, whether it was Davis, Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, or even Prince. So because of that, I think that was honestly such a huge valuable asset from Kuminga that is definitely going to be needed when it comes playoff time. The fourth is that Draymond Green almost pulled off a triple-double in this Golden State Warriors matchup. Now, when we look at Draymond Green, he did a fantastic job in this game because he had himself 6 points, 12 rebounds, and also 13 assists. So this was honestly a super surprising game from Draymond Green. He was able to really be a stat sheet stuffer, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. So like I mentioned, he was so close to a triple-double, only 4 points away, but we all know Draymond Green isn't much of a scorer. He's more of a facilitator, and he did a fantastic job, not only just dishing out 13 assists, but also grabbing 12 boards. But like I mentioned also with Jonathan Kuminga, what I do believe was definitely the standout for Draymond Green was a great defense he was playing on Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, who is 7 foot. Draymond Green is considered to be listed at only 6'7", 6'6", so there is a huge height gap between the two, and Anthony Davis couldn't even score 10 points, which I thought was absolutely huge. Now, AD did only play 12 minutes, but I do believe he did a fantastic job in those 12 minutes due to the fact that they weren't able to match him up properly with any of the fast-paced Warriors players that they did play with. But overall, I think that when it came to Draymond Green, his defense was definitely second to none, and we got to see that at a very big scale. The fact that he was able to grab 12 boards, especially against a big team that has Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, was honestly absolutely massive. He was the only player to hit double digits in rebounds, and also the only player to hit double digits in the assist category as well. So Draymond Green was doing the intangibles out there, and I thought it was honestly not just exciting to watch, but also to see Draymond Green in his absolute element. This is where Draymond really does shine, playmaking and also rebounding, and I think it definitely did help this team out a lot, freed up a lot of space for Steph, Klay, other players like Trayce Jackson Davis, Kuminga, Wiggins, and the list really does go on and on. But his ability to lead this team in all different ways is honestly second to none, and it's absolutely massive for this team. The fifth is that Andrew Wiggins is starting to show signs of his former self. Now, as you all know, Andrew Wiggins is a fantastic player, but over the recent season, we definitely have seen a dip in his performance due to a lot of different reasons, and he had a long season hiatus where he was missing last season. But because of that, we have seen Andrew Wiggins finally come back and starting to slowly get back to where he was before. In this matchup, he had himself 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist, which I thought was fantastic, while also getting 1 block. He shot 7 from 17 from the field, which is not too bad, and also went 2 from 6, so not the greatest shooting night. But I do believe when it comes to Andrew Wiggins, and you definitely see it not just from these highlights, but also just if you watch the game very carefully, you start to see a lot more confidence in the way Andrew Wiggins plays, which is what we like to see from him. We've definitely seen so far this season Andrew Wiggins play a bit scared, not really shoot the same shots that he shot, and he kind of just plays defense and goes along with it. Now we are starting to see Andrew Wiggins become more aggressive, be that player that he was, and continue to show his dominance on the floor. So I think it was honestly fantastic to see that. It may not have been a great 35-40 bomb performance, but the fact that he's starting to show slow signs of him being back to his former self, I think it is honestly going to be huge, and it's a great progression for what is to come in the future. I definitely see someone like Andrew Wiggins being a vital asset for this Warriors team, especially when it comes playoff time. But even the fact that when it came to trade time, we all know he was in definitely big rumors of being traded, and I think Andrew Wiggins is slowly starting to realize that and trying to prove his point that he belongs in this Warriors roster. He has mentioned time and time again that he does not want to leave the Golden State Warriors, and he is willing to take a pay cut, but he did just sign a big contract, and I think Wiggins wants to live up to it, and the Warriors want him to live up to it as well. So when it comes to what Wiggins can provide for this team, it's not only defense, it's definitely his aggression and his inside presence, and I definitely think that's going to be huge coming into playoff time.